Greetings everyone. These instructions work for two X32s, two M32s, or a X32 and an M32. The stage box could be a Behringer S16, S32, SD8 or SD16, or a Midas DL16 or DL32. In this video, we'll be using a full-size X32 as the main console, a X32 producer as the second console, and an S16 stage box. Make sure both consoles are running the latest firmware. At the time of this recording, the current firmware is version 4.09. You can search online for X32 firmware update. The stage box can be connected to any of the two X32s, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to connect the stage box to the main console, AES50A to AES50A. Now connect the two consoles together by connecting from AES50B from your main console to AES50A on your second console. On your main console, under Setup, the clock source should be set to internal. On your second console, the clock source should be set to AES50A. Please bear in mind, if the second console's clock source is set to anything other than AES50A, it will not recognize the connection from the main console. If the main console is powered off, the second console's clock source must be set back to internal or it will not function. On the main console, press Routing, go to Inputs, and set inputs 1 through 16 to AES50A. Now you could set inputs 17 to 32 to local, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to set inputs 17 to 24 to local, and then inputs 25 to 32 to AES50B, 25 to 32. Now I can route anything that's plugged locally into the second console back to the main console into these last 8 inputs. Tab back over to AES50B, set outputs 1 through 16 to AES50A 1 through 16. Set outputs 17 through 24 to local 17 to 24. On the second console, let's go to Routing, go to Inputs. Now let's change inputs 1 through 24 to AES50A 1 to 24. 25 to 32 is going to be set to local 1 through 8. Tab over to AES50A outputs. Set outputs 25 to 32 to local 1 through 8. With this setup, any signal that's plugged into your stage box will be coming into both consoles in channels 1 through 16. Anything that's plugged in locally on the main console between channels 17 and 24 will also be coming into the channels on the second console between channels 17 and 24. And anything that's plugged into the second console between channels 1 through 8 will also be coming into the channels on the main console between channels 25 through 32. If you're using the aux inputs on the back of the second console, then you can set the AES50A outputs 25 to 32 to aux 1 through 6. Likewise, if you're using the aux inputs on the back of the main console, then you can set the AES50B outputs 17 to 24 to aux 1 through 6. If you want to do a mixture of, say, aux inputs and XLR inputs on the second console, then you would tab over to User, make sure Output is selected, scroll down to 25 through 32, and now 25 can be, say, aux 1, 26 can be aux 2, 27 can be local in 1, 28 can be local in 7, and you could even use, say 28, for example, could be card in 1, and 29 could be card in 2, if, say, you have a USB connection from a computer to the USB in on the back of the board, and so on. Once you're done, you tab back over to AES50A outputs, set outputs 25 to 32 to user out 25 to 32. And the same goes for the main console. If you want to use a combination of XLR inputs and aux inputs, under Routing, tab over to User, make sure Output is selected, scroll down to 17 to 24, select your inputs. When you're done, you tab back over to AES50B, change outputs 17 through 24 to user out 17 to 24. Now I have music going into aux 1 and 2 on the second console, and as you can see, it shows up over here on the main console. I also have a microphone plugged into input 1 on the back of the second console, and as you can see, it shows up over here on the main console. On the main console, I have music going into auxes 5 and 6, and as you can see, it shows up over here on the second console. If you have questions, just put them in the comments.